Hi everyone, Krzysztof the Polish Geek, and welcome to another video. And I decided to do my top 5 most anticipated movies of 2025. Actually, top 6, because I really don't want to leave any of those 6 movies out of the list, but I named it 5 because that's like the rounded number, isn't it? So, but it's actually top 6, like last year and 2 years ago I did actually top 10 of most anticipated movies of the year, but honestly, looking at so many movies coming out in 2025, I can't say that there are as many movies I'm interested or looking forward to as there were last year and 2 years ago, so I decided to just reduce it to a top 6 because, as I said, I can't really say that there are as many movies that I'm looking forward to in 2025 as I was looking forward to this year. But then again, who knows? Maybe there will be some surprises. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, because plenty of times, in fact, a lot of the times, a movie that ended up being my favorite of the year ended up to be a gigantic surprise for me. So, who knows? Maybe this time it will be the same. Who knows? And I will also say this. Superman, the upcoming Superman movie, is not on this list. I'm very much want this movie to be good, and I hope it's good, and I'm glad that James Gunn hasn't done any reshoots, because reshoots are frequently happening now in superhero movies, whether Marvel or DC, so the fact that James Gunn outright said that he's not doing any reshoots is not really a good sign, but ultimately, in order to actually make me anticipate this new DC by James Gunn, he has to prove himself to me. I mean, I love his job on Guardians of the Galaxy and I did enjoy his Suicide Squad, but before I start looking forward to his take on the new DC universe, he has to prove himself. That's why Superman is not on this list. Again, as I said, I am very much hoping it's good, but again, first James Gunn has to prove himself to me. And another movie that's also not on this list, it was on the last year's list when I thought this movie would come out this year, but it's not, after saying more about it, is The Witcher: Sirens of the Deep. I mean, I admittedly put it on the list back in 2023 as one of my most anticipated movies of 2024, because the images admittedly looked pretty good, and I did really enjoy Nightmare of the Wolf, so that's why I put it on this list. But after I actually seen the trailer, that for some reason I haven't seen then, just the images, I realized that no, this is perfect example of something that normies likely will enjoy, but that certainly doesn't fit with the Witcher universe, especially that Underwater Society. It seemed like outright an Aquaman ripoff. And again, I love DC, but this isn't Aquaman, this is The Witcher. Hello?
Hello? Hello? Anybody home?
But, we probably went on a tangent. I was just, instead of actually getting on with my list, I was just describing to you, the two movies, why those two movies are not on the list. I'm slightly more optimistic about Superman, but that's neither here nor there. Let's now get on with my actual 6 most anticipated movies of 2025. And coming in number 6 is Flight Risk. And I have to say, I've seen trailers of this movie and all that, and it all looks pretty good and interesting. Plenty of people would disregard it as just another cheesy action movie, but no, this actually not only looks good, it's directed by Mel Gibson, and I actually really like Mel Gibson. He hasn't done a movie in a long while, but I generally tend to like his work a lot. He's done Braveheart, awesome movie, even if not historically accurate, but awesome. And he's also done Apocalypto. I mean, The Patriot was great. I mean, he didn't direct it, but he starred there and still played part in making the movie. So, yeah, The Patriot was great. The Passion of the Christ, although I generally don't like speaking religion here. Let's just say, I love Mel Gibson. And the premise of the movie sounds pretty promising. The trailers look good, so I'm actually pretty hopeful for that. Number 5. And that's the new upcoming Pixar movie, Elio. And you probably already know that, because I've been talking about it quite a lot, that I really don't like modern Disney. Like, modern Disney completely doesn't care about making quality good movies for families. Unfortunately, they strayed long ago from what it used to be, and I bet Walt Disney would probably just be devastated if he's seen modern Disney. Like, there hasn't been a really great Disney animated feature ever since the first Frozen. Like, all other movies posted pretty much sacked, with the exception, I guess, of Frozen 2. That was somewhat decent and still nowhere near as good as the first one. But the same cannot be said for Pixar. In fact, Inside Out 2 has very much proved that Pixar still very much cares for making quality animated movies for the families. Like, because Inside Out 2, if I'm being honest, it's the best Pixar movie I've seen in a while. It's even better than Luca and even better than Soul. Like, yeah, it's literally might actually be the best Pixar movie since Coco, and Coco is one of my favorite Pixar movies. Like, yeah, I really loved Inside Out 2, and Elemental I thought was kind of decent. I didn't dislike it like some people seem to like, and Luca was pretty good, and Soul was very good. Like, yeah, unlike Disney, it's pretty obvious that Pixar very much still cares for making quality animated movies for the families. Like, even if I didn't like Turning Red or Lightyear, but I honestly think that Pixar maybe should stray from Disney, because I think the only reason that some of their movies now do tend to suck is largely because Disney has them under their control. Because I said, Inside Out 2 very much made me confident that if it was all up to Pixar, they would still very much care about making quality animated movies for families. And that's why I'm also looking forward to Elio, because the whole premise of Elio being taken by aliens and they think he's an ambassador from Earth, like, yeah, that's a pretty cool and funny concept. Like, I'm totally on board with that. Like, as long as they care about making a quality product, then this has a potential to be another great Pixar classic. Like, I'm not necessarily expecting it to be like another Toy Story, another Coco, another Inside Out movies, or even another Finding Nemo, but it still has a high chance to be in the end turn out to be a really good product on the same lines as Luca and Soul or The Incredibles, and I'm very much looking forward to Elio, and that's why Pixar, please don't screw this over. Like, you have a potential, don't waste it. So Elio at number 5. Number 4, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, and I did enjoy the last Mission Impossible movie. I thought it was full of action, and the quantity of action scenes was spectacular. A car chase, a train sequence, like, as well as fist fighting and all that, gun shooting, like the quantity of diversity of action scenes that this movie had was just unbelievable. But the movie very much ended on a cliffhanger, and I was invested in the story, so I am very interested to see where the story goes from there. And also the whole part about Yal was pretty interesting, although I am hoping that this will not really turn into a science fiction, because the Mission Impossible movies are kind of grounded in reality. Sure, I mean, like, Tom Cruise does all he's like, does jumping and flying shit and all that, but in general those movies were pretty much still grounded in reality. So although I do like the artificial intelligence storyline, I am hoping that at the end of the day it will still remain grounded like Mission Impossible movies have generally been. That said, the last Mission Impossible movie was not my favorite Mission Impossible movie. That still goes either to Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol or Mission Impossible Fallout. Like, I think those are the two best Mission Impossible movies. And I'm also looking forward to see more Haley Atwell, because Haley Atwell has by far I think played by far the best female character in all of Mission Impossible. So I'm glad that she's very much returning, and seeing more of her is going to be really exciting, because I think she's been by far the best female lead in all Mission Impossible movies. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of her. But as I said, I am invested in the story of the last movie, which ended on a cliffhanger, and I really do want to know where this is going. And as much as I did like the artificial intelligence storyline, I do also hope that they really won't go down the route of sci-fi. Like, who knows, maybe AI will turn out to be just something that the bad guys use and control. Who knows? Number 3, and this is another action movie, and this is from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. Like, I've only watched all the John Wick movies just to prepare for the last John Wick movie, Chapter 4, but I ended up having a really great time watching all of them. I really enjoyed them all, and by far, the last one, John Wick Chapter 4, that by far was my favorite one of them all. Like, I really loved that last one. I thought it was a perfect send-off of the character and all that, and I can only imagine that people who've been with John Wick since the first movie probably even loved it even more than me. But I've seen trailers for Ballerina and I thought they all look spectacular, and it seems very much like, thankfully, she's not going to be like one of those girl boss Mauritius, but an actual well-written character. And yep, I'm really looking forward to Ballerina. I very much like the world of John Wick and all that, and seeing it from a different perspective is going to be really interesting.
That's interesting.
Number 2, and that's Karate Kid Legends. Like, I'm a huge fan of the show Cobra Kai. You probably already know if you've been watching me, because I did a review of all the seasons as Cobra Kai was coming out. I mean, I reviewed season 5 and then I reviewed part 1 and 2 of season 6, and I will certainly review part 3 too, but if part 3 delivers, then I'm very much going to give a whole you should be watching to Cobra Kai. It deserves it, as long as it sticks the landing. And yes, ever since I learned that both Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan are going to show up, I've been excited for it ever since, because you know what it means? That yes, 2010 remake is also very much part of the same universe as the original Karate Kid movie. And while I personally never was a huge fan of the 2010 remake, I thought it was just a inferior ripoff of the original movie. Doesn't change the fact that I'm very much positive in all those writers, and I think that integrating this 2010 remake into the main continuity, I personally think it's a spectacular idea. And seeing Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio, I mean Mr. Han, and Daniel LaRusso, of course, interact and train the new Karate Kid, that's going to be really exciting. And I'm also very much interested now in all the references to both movies and the show and all that. Although there is one thing I'm really hoping for. I'm really hoping that the show won't directly lead into the movie. Like, it's better for the show to end on a satisfying note and then for the movie to be standalone. I mean, it certainly should make references to the TV series, the movies, as well as the 2010 remake. It certainly very much should make references, but I very much want the show to end on its own satisfying note and then the movie to be its own standalone thing. And the fact that it takes place 3 years after the show makes me hopeful that it probably will be that. And probably wishful thinking, but please, William Zabka, show up as Johnny Lawrence. You gotta do this. But Karate Kid Legends at number 2. And at number 1, my most anticipated movie of 2025 is, and although it's not 100% confirmed that this will be actually 2025, but come on, it's like done filming in November, so there is absolutely not a stretch to assume it's going to actually be released in 2025, and it is the new Frankenstein by Guillermo del Toro. Like, I'm very much looking forward to this, because Guillermo del Toro lost my good graces when he directed Shape of Water. That movie was trash, and how come it won an award is really beyond me, but oh well. But then he really got back into my good graces when he directed his Pinocchio movie, and that movie was super excellent.
Now we're talking.
Like, it's literally now still my favorite movie of the decade. Like, I mean, plenty of people love the movie, rightfully so, but I don't think that anybody really loved the movie as much as I did. Like, it's when you watch the YouTubers' best movies of 2022 list, like, I'm literally probably the only one that actually put it Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio at number 1. But somebody had to do it, and yep, it's by far my favorite movie of Guillermo del Toro, and as I said, still the best movie of the decade. And so that's why I'm now very much... Oh, and by the way, I do generally tend to love Guillermo del Toro's works. Like, I also think Pan's Labyrinth is also a great movie, probably my second favorite of his, and actually considered his best work among his fans, also rightfully so, even if it's second for me. The Devil's Backbone is also very good, like, as well as both Hellboy movies were great too. Like, yeah, Guillermo del Toro, in general, is a really good and passionate, phenomenal director, and outside of Shape of Water and Pacific Rim, I generally very much tend to love his works. And Frankenstein has been his passion project for like many years at this point, but it's been shelved so much. But now that it's done filming, it will finally see the end of day and the light of day. And based on what I'm hearing about it and what Del Toro is very much saying about it, it's going to be very much a work of passion. I'm so much looking forward to it, especially that I do generally love the concept of Frankenstein and all. I admit, I haven't actually read the original Mary Shelley's book, but I did see the Boris Karloff adaptation and Christopher Lee Hammer movies, and I thought that they were great. And I do know that Guillermo del Toro doesn't actually want to adapt the story of the book, but he very much does want to maintain the spirit, which is all that matters. Like, he just wants to tell an adventure story that involves Frankenstein, or more specifically, Frankenstein's monster, since technically it's the mad scientist that created what's known as Frankenstein, that this guy's technically Frankenstein, but whatever, just an adventure story involving Frankenstein's monster. But he does very much want to keep all the parts that make Frankenstein special, so that's why I'm very much looking forward to it. Especially, I think if there ever was a perfect director to do a Frankenstein movie, I think it's Guillermo del Toro. Plus, I also love the cast, especially that Christoph Waltz is going to be in there, and I think he's a phenomenal actor. Like, I loved him in Inglourious Bastards and in Django Unchained, like, as well as I loved his portrayal of Blofeld in James Bond movies. So, yep, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is my most anticipated movie of 2025, and I'm very much optimistic about it and so much looking forward to it. So guys, here are my 6 most anticipated movies of 2025, and what are your most anticipated movies of 2025? Let me know, please subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you then, bye!